Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of In the Dark, a wild episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, immediately picking up where the last episode left off, it's like, yo, it's Trey. He's the one behind this. Murphy's like, all right, cool. Cops are on the way. Let's give them Trey. But then Darnell's like, no. Trey's my boy. I'm like, Darnell. I was like, bro, you gotta be tricked. You set out on this mission. I even said last episode, doesn't matter about the past and stuff like that. Darnell set out on doing what he's doing, and so is Murphy. They're gonna, never mind. Darnell is backing down, and Murphy's like, no. The fact of the matter is he's responsible. Like, there are kids that are dying because of his drugs, and it's like, but Trey does what he does, and he's able to play into, like, Murphy's self-preservation. It's like, right, here, well, how much you want? 20, 30, 50 grand? The fact of the matter is, use this money and run. Like, I know, like, the cops are going to they're going to, even after they get me, they're just going to have you by the balls, because then they're going to want the person above that and above that, and they're always going to use you. You're never going to get your freedom, so might as well take this opportunity. So Murphy kind of concedes. Granted, they were able to buy themselves enough time because got Darnell's phone, got Sarah's phone number, called her up, Trey made sure not to be on the other side of that phone, because it's like, yeah, because she would be able to recognize your voice immediately. They could have set that up better. They could have been like, yo, we were blindfolded, we didn't see anything, we just heard people talking. They could have done that, but, unless they weren't thinking straight. They were just trying to, like, right, it was heat of the moment, like the cops were going to be busting in at any point in time, so they managed to get away. Murphy apologizes to Max, being like, you're right, I shouldn't, like, we are engaged, so I shouldn't, like, just kind of cut and run like the way I did. I mean, granted, she was trying to protect him, but still, it's like, right, you don't cut me out of the plan. He's like, wait, what? I'm right. Like, Murphy is too stubborn to ever admit that she's wrong, and it's like, okay, well, Trey, what? Yeah, but Trey. So she's super honest with him. It's like, he gave me $50,000. It's like, whoa, you took it. It's like, no, Max, I left it. So it's like, right, let's use this opportunity. Like, we'll run Canada, Mexico like you want it. He's like, okay. She's like, wait, okay? He's like, yeah. As long as we're together, that's all that matters. But the problem is, because of this fallout, Gene ends up getting demoted. Because his boss is like, I didn't ask you to do things different. He's like, no, that's why you gave me the job, because I would do things differently. I didn't want to just go from the approach of just arresting the dealers. Like, that's not going to stop anything until we get, like, the head of the chain. Like, those kids aren't going to, like, they don't know, like, some of them probably don't even know, like, who they're working for. And also it's like, so he's trying not to go after the small fry. He's trying to go after the whale in this situation, and that being Trey. But she demotes him and is, like, giving his job to someone else. Problem with that, though, is the new chief is going to have to go through it, and will most likely say no to Murphy's deal. So yeah, she might as well take this chance to run, is what Darnell tells her. And he does legitimately feel bad lying to Sarah, but Trey's his boy, like, cause they go way back. They've been besties since, like, forever. So, like, that's his boy. So, like, of course he ain't going to rat on his homie, especially despite everything, despite what made him start all of this. But it all changed for Murphy, because she was like, wanted to visit someone before they go, and she was like, well, Max is like, oh, your mom, your parents, and she was like, no. And at first I was like, oh, your bio parents, you actually know where they are, and you just, like, had that conversation before. Like, I was wondering, like, oh, is this that direction it's going? It's like, no, Chloe's like, oh, that makes sense. But Chloe's like, yeah, you murdered someone. She's like, I've never killed anyone. It's like, to be fair, she hasn't. That's the sad thing. No matter how, because Murphy has lied and manipulated so many people, the fact of the matter is, it's that cry wolf thing where no one believes her when she honestly says, like, right, I didn't do it. Because she's also not giving them the actual person. Like, she's not pointing it towards, okay, I didn't shoot Nia, it wasn't me. Then who was it then? It was Jess. Wait, what? It's like, yeah. But then people accuse her of, oh, you're just trying to pin it on your best friend. It's like, well, why would I pin it on Jess? She's not around anymore, is what people would say. But it's like, she cares a lot about Jess, so would she try to throw Jess under the bus? That's also the thing. Like, if she won't say anything, it's like, right, it would make sense why Murphy has kept being like, I'm innocent, but never wanted to throw anyone else under the bus. She never was like, yo, there was someone else. Because everyone else knows the truth. Like, that it was Jess. Felix and Max know the truth. I think even Leslie knows, like, because they told her, but, I mean, I think they might have told her, but it's like, yeah, like, everyone, including Jess, are the only ones who really know the truth about, like, Murphy isn't the one who killed Nia, but, once again, no one would probably believe her anyway. Definitely Josh won't. We'll get to that later. Oh boy, will we get to that later. But running into Chloe, who kind of wants, she's like, oh, can you get me more drugs? Because it's like, right, Murphy's like the cool person. She'll do whatever it takes, especially because she cares about me. If she cares about me, she'll get me the drugs I want. But it's like, no, you almost died. You landed in a hospital. She's like, yeah, but for a little bit, I didn't have to think about anything. I had to think about my dad. I didn't have to think about you. I didn't have to feel anything. So just, I don't care. She wants to die. Like, she doesn't want to live. It's just like just leave me alone, Murphy. But Murphy doesn't want to leave her alone because it's like, right, I do care about you, because I think there's also that element of, and maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but obviously she got really close to Chloe. Like, obviously this is someone, like, she was fairly young when she was blind, so like I think she finds that commonality with Chloe. Because I don't remember if Chloe was like blind by birth, or did she eventually did she have like the same thing Murphy and Josh did? Like, was it like a degradation that eventually degeneration is the word I should have specifically used before, like, going blind. I don't remember. Chloe's might have been by birth, but I don't remember. Either way, but I think there's also the element of makes her think about Tyson. It's like, right, Tyson was like her best friend too, and it's like, right, I couldn't do anything to help him, and now it's like she wants to be able to she's like, I can do something. Like, I went through a lot. Like, it was helping Tyson after the fact. Now I get to help Chloe. I want to try and help Chloe before it turns to that. Like, I don't want another Tyson type of situation. Granted, once again, it's a different thing. She'd be killing herself. Tyson was murdered, ironically enough, not even ironically enough, but interestingly enough, by her dad. So that's where we get into that complicated territory. But it makes Murphy go like, no, I can't leave. I thought I could leave it all behind and forget it all. But it's like, no, Chloe, the only way we're going to end this is if we stop Trey. So immediately Max is kind of on board. It's like, right, if you want to stop him, he won't get away with this. So, and I think it kind of shifts with, like, I think after like a lot of like last episode, Murphy kind of like a lot of her, I think Murphy's on the better path now. She's still a lot of who she is, a lot of her personality obviously still intact, but I think there's always been a good person underneath Murphy. Once again, it's buried super deep underneath all the sarcasm and assholishness, but like, it's there. But she wants to do the right thing. So they end up telling Jean, who's like, wait, Trey, okay, cool. That doesn't do anything for me. I literally got my job taken from me, but okay, we'll continue to work together because you do want to do the right thing now. It's like, okay, she told you. She didn't have to tell you. She could have been like, actually, I didn't say anything last night, but I believe she could have lied her way through this, but she told you the truth. It's like, right, he gave me 50 grand and everything too, which even Max was looking at her like, oh, you actually told him about that. You actually told, Jean about that, because I'm like, right, I thought that was going to be kind of our little, like, our getaway, like our little stash, just in case things kind of go sideways, or just in general, like the fact is because like neither one of them has really any money. He's sure as hell broke, so is she. So it's kind of like, yeah, we're probably going to eventually have to hand that cash over now that you've said something, but regardless. So she ended up telling Jean the truth. Jean wasn't going to tell Sarah initially about Darnell's decision, but then Sarah's willing to throw away her career for him because it's like, right, this job, the fact is I'm willing to put someone I care about in this very compromising position. It's like, he could have died, and it's like, yeah, maybe initially, but yeah, they were never going to actually die, because Trey even said, like, it's because it's Darnell and Murphy, he decided not to kill them. So he wanted them to be their insiders. So I was like, oh, so like you want them to play triple cross. Well, more double cross than anything, so. But now that double cross does eventually turn into a bit of a triple cross. Either way. So Sarah blows up at Darnell, which she has every right to, because I love Jean being like, yeah, it was Trey, Darnell knew it. And it's like, Sarah turned to Jean almost like, what? It's like, she's up here about to throw away her career for him. It's like, yeah, he means a lot to me. And you could tell he was reluctant to be like, I don't want to blow up your situation. But to be fair, Jean likes Sarah too, so you're almost like, I'm not saying he's doing that maliciously, like, oh, he's trying to worm his way in, but I'm wondering is that, I doubt her and Darnell are going to be a thing after this. Could be a Jean and Sarah thing. Like, he definitely, like, likes her, and that kind of entered that complicated, weird territory, considering she was his boss, and it was kind of like, but he recognized how effed up that was, and she does, but they've been able to kind of move past that. So it's like, no, we're good. Like, I know I overstepped my boundaries. I'm sorry. They were both drinking at the time, too. Like, so it's a little more excusable because they recognize, like, well, I shouldn't have done that. That was kind of inappropriate. Because he wasn't even doing that situation that's like, oh, I'm your boss. But it's like, even he recognizes, like, yeah, the power dynamic here makes that, like, not a good situation. So But yeah, Sarah had, like I said, every right to blow up at Darnell because it's like, right, you're protecting Trey. Like, so many kids are dying. He's like, yeah, but you see things so black and white. He's like, I see the nuance of it all, of like considering like Trey's not a bad guy. He's just trying to make ends meet. The fact is, we grew up in this whole thing. This is what we know. This is all Trey knows, like to make ends meet. So like, he's not that bad of a guy. Like, people just. But then she goes, yeah, but once again, he's killing kids. The fact is that you wanted to make it like, what about all those mothers who will never get their children back? The fact of the matter is, you want to make it seem like you're doing this for them, but you're not. You just want to clear your own guilt over Tyson's death because you blame himself. And that is it. Like, this all started the moment Darnell like ran into his aunt, Tyson's mom. Like, that conversation with her is what sparked a lot of this. So it is just simply like, yeah, he wants to alleviate his own guilt about Tyson. And so he ends up going to Trey. But when he went to Trey, I knew, like, oh, he's doubling down. Like, I mean, not doubling down. He's playing the role I figured he would. I was like, yeah, because he was like, yeah, it made him go like, yeah, I was tripping about protecting Trey. But especially when Trey was like, yeah, we're cutting it with fentanyl. And it's like, oh, but there's kids dying. He was like, so I was like, yo, my guy, Trey, really? Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, that doesn't stop people either way when they know, like, their shit's good. I mean, there's some people you would assume drug-wise who are like, nah, I'm not cutting my shit with fentanyl, regardless of it all, because, you know, it's like, the last thing you want is your user base to actively die. It's like, no. You want them to survive so they can be repeat customers. It's a fucked up thing to say, but, like, in the drug business, you'd want that, right? But it's like, no, it's just about the overhead of, like, right, it only takes $2 to, like, make the drugs because they're cutting it with fentanyl. But it's like, yeah, people are gonna die. It's just kind of like, it's business, you know? And even, like, Darnell's almost like, what the fuck, man? You know, like, there are kids out there dying, like kids that were us at one point in time, and you don't care. You know, it's like, whatever, like, he's able to run this business, and he says it so nonchalantly. To be fair, Trey has always shown himself to be the guy that's like, yo, I'm always going to look after my best interest. I mean, what did he try to do last episode? Despite everything going on, try to mosey in that Nia/Josiah, like, vacuum. Like, he tried to make his own move last season, and once again, that kind of plays into why last episode I was like, yeah, it makes sense. It would be Trey. I mean, they were setting this up last season that like Trey is capable of this. So, but knowing that he's that cold, you know, and it's like, it's so sad too, because it's like, yo, last season you're like, yo, I like Trey a lot. Trey's funny, yeah. Now it's like, man, Trey, you are a piece of shit, my dude. But the moment he was like, yeah, I also have some, like, white guy that's, like, backing this, I was like, it's the guy, isn't it? It's the guy who Felix got money from his daughter. It's like the girl they used to get that money to get Murphy's bail. It's that dude, isn't it? Because he has a whole bunch of money stashed in his fucking wall. You're like, what the fuck is that about? It has to be that guy. I mean, maybe it's not, but I'm assuming it's that guy because we've still never circled back to that storyline. It's gotta be that guy. That's who immediately popped in my mind. I don't remember his name, but yeah, the guy, like, Felix got the money from Murphy's bail from. That's, well, his daughter. But like that, was it his daughter or was it his, like, niece? I think it was his niece. Either way, that's the guy. Oh, it has to be. If it's not, okay, but I just feel like in my gut it's got to be that guy because we still have not circled back to that. We got introduced to that. We've never circled back to that. Because we don't know what Felix and Leslie are up to because Josh ended up finding out, like, right, Leslie and Felix had, like, packed some bags and left. I mean, I guess they were just, like, wanted to get out and get away. We'll see whether we get any more Felix and Leslie by the end of the series. I would assume we would because Felix might come into play later because filling that Josh void to something. I don't know if he could necessarily even do what Josh could do. They would have to get someone else, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll get to that later. Nevertheless, they meet up with Gene, Max, and Murphy meet up with at Gene's brother's place or something like that, and it's a bowling place. And I love that they're like being all cute, making out. He's like, whoa! I didn't ask you guys here to be brought here so I could watch you guys make out. So he brings Sarah into the fold. Then she wants in about the Darnell situation, which Darnell later on shows up, and he's like, I am going to help, and he swears on Tyson's grave. And it's like, and that Murphy's like, he can be trusted because of that. And it's like, okay. But now it's like, yeah, but we're still kind of back to square one because, like, right, all we have to do is catch Trey in the act, which Darnell's on the inside. He wants you to be on the inside for the cops. Now you're the inside for the cops to him. And then once again, it's a double cross that turned into a triple cross. So, but the problem is, like, there's also the guy above Trey, like, we cut him off, we end all this, but, like, there's a lot of powerful people, like, we could trace this money back to, like, how do we even go about that? And the moment Gene was like, I know a guy, and I'm like, and Murphy was like, no. At first I was like, Felix, but I was like, no, it's Josh, because this is his cup of tea, this is his realm, which, let's talk about Josh. Him and Chelsea, like, they're trying to, like, find whatever they can to make things stick with Murphy. So what do? They break into Leslie's place because he's like, yeah, I've hacked into it, make it so that the door camera doesn't, like, register. I'm like, I mean, that's super fucked up, my guy. Like, the fact of the matter is, it's like, yo, this is some, like, power tripping, like, abusing your power and position, because, I mean, it's like, because Chelsea's kind of okay with it, because it's like, right, it's about taking down Murphy, like, she's so set on her, like, because of revenge, too, so she's, like, sure and cool with whatever Josh wants to do, but they don't find anything, because truth be told, there's not going to be anything there to, like, connect all of them. There's not going to be any of the drugs there, none of the weapons, like, nothing tying Murphy to, like, Nia's death is going to be there, because, I mean, even if there was any evidence tying her there, no evidence is going to be that she killed Nia, because she didn't. But Josh's condition gets worse, because when he's stressing out, he's becoming blind, and it's just like, he realizes, like, yeah, I do have to kind of let this go. To the point, he was going to let it go. It's just, for him, he's like, I just need the truth. I need her to admit that she used me and that she killed Nia. At the very least, he's like, I know it's stupid, but if she admitted the truth, maybe, just maybe, I could finally be free and okay. And Chelsea's like, you do know the truth. You know, whether or not she ever admits it, you know the truth, and that's what matters. Once again, the sad thing is, doesn't know the truth. Yes, Murphy used you to some extent in the later parts of things, but she also didn't kill Nia, so... But the moment Gene calls him up, and Murphy's like, do not do this. Do not tell him about my deal, because if you do, like, he wants to see me rot in prison. This is not a good idea. The guy's crazy. The moment he's there, it's like, wait, what? You made a deal with her, didn't you? Like, he started snapping. He's like, she's like, I'm doing this for Chloe. He's like, you're lying again and again. And his vision started blurring. Like, once again, I'll set this up. You legitimately feel bad for Josh to some extent. Like I said, he's been power tripping. He's been going buck wild this season. Yes, he has every right to be pissed at Murphy, but everything he's done has been him, like, it's out of vengeance. It's him being vindictive. It's not even about Nia, like, I'm putting away a bad person. Maybe it initially was, but there's always been that layer of, no, you're also doing this and it's personal, which you should have never been on this job to begin with, because it's always been personal to you. Like, yeah, you had Murphy told you everything at the end of season 2, like, you found her out and everything, and she kind of told you everything that went down, but you weren't really willing to listen to her. You were trying to catch her, then she used your blindness against you, used your job against, like, I get it. You have every right, because he's like, Murphy took everything away from me, my job, my sanity, and now even I'm going to lose my little bit of sight over her, because the more he stresses, the more his condition is going to get worse. So yes, I'm prefacing this before we go to the big swing of it all. I feel bad for him. I felt bad for him, but it doesn't change the fact is, he has been vindictive as hell this entire season. Yes, Murphy's done some fuck shit, but, like, nothing that him going as hard in the paint, like, yes, Sarah and Gene wanted to take her down too, but not as much as Josh. Josh got so much delight out of it. Once again, he's also been skirting the line of what's legal because of everything. He's the one that I believe suggested the recording them thing. He's also the one that was spying on Murphy in prison, because yes, his guts were right, his gut instinct about her was right, but it's still like, he shouldn't have done that. It was super, like, he's been very obsessive. But, you know, Gene calmed him down. It's like, right, bro. He's like, I wouldn't offer her a deal. I'm like, good job, Gene. He does admit earlier, he's like, we shouldn't have lied to him, but yeah, it's like, yeah, you still have to lie to him, because he won't help you otherwise. So it's like, I need one thing from you. I'm like, okay. So he's like, right, Murphy. He has to sit down with her. Tell me you killed Nia. She's like, okay, I didn't. He's like, why are you still lying to me? You know, just tell me you used me. He's like, I didn't use you. She's like, I did like you. She legitimately started everything between her and Josh because she did like him. Eventually, she did kind of use and manipulate him to some extent. She used him more so in the sense of using information from his job as a means of going against Nia, or at least helping Nia. That was the situation she was in at the time. So yes, she did ultimately end up using him, but it was never like the beginning of that relationship was because she did legitimately like him. And then, like, they're kind of laughing about everything to someone. I'm like, oh, wow, he's handling this better. And then he crossed the fucking line when he kissed her. I was like, whoa, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And she's like, what are you doing? And he keeps going. I'm like, yo, Josh, what the fuck, dude? And then he keeps going. He's like, come on. I was like, now we're in that completely creepy territory. I'm like, oh, now you're power tripping. And he's like, no, come on. Like, and then he's like grabbing her face and it's like, yo, you better back the fuck up, bro. I was like, oh, shit. To be fair, not saying, like, it's still quite a leap to get from where we were to here, but, like, not saying, like, it makes sense 100%. I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is he's been tripping this entire season, and then now he's like, because he's like, yeah, I miss the taste of you. I miss your smell. It's like, he's always been obsessed with Murphy. It's like, so all this time, your conflicted feelings about Murphy, it's you hate her because you love her, because you're not just in love with her, you're obsessed with her. Like, yeah, Max and Murphy are obsessed with each other. Yeah, that shit can be destructive and toxic. Your shit's on a whole other level of toxic, though. Like, the fact that it's grabbing her face and everything, it's like, admit that you killed Nia. Then you're on your own, bitch, and, like, leaves. It's like, yo, you're not going to get my help until you admit that you killed Nia. It's like, well, she shouldn't admit to something she didn't do, first and foremost. But you also crossed the line kissing her like that, and everything was like, yo, that's super wrong. She pushed him away, calling him a freaking name. He's like, what? Almost like, wait, what? No. Like, we had this thing between us. It's like, Murph, like, what? Josh, my guy, like, once again, it kind of makes all these things, you're like, okay, so this has always been, like, you have been obsessed with Murphy. I mean, truth be told is, we don't know much about Josh prior to, like, all of this. Like, I mean, and maybe that's the toxicness of it all. It's like, he's a decent guy. It's like, I mean, you can make excuses like, oh, maybe it's like everything with Murphy and maybe his blindness kind of turned him into this terrible person. Or you can make the argument, the fact is that it's like, right, when you're at your most desperate, I think that's of oversimplification. I was about to say it's an oversimplification, but like when you're in a very, who you are when your back's against the wall is who you become at that moment is who you always are deep down inside. That's kind of when your true character come out and you're like, is this who Josh really is? Once again, you can cut him some bail to some extent by being like, maybe you could just, not justify it, but say like, maybe all this culminated in him kind of swinging on this side of the pendulum, but it's like, or maybe the argument is, Josh has always been a piece of shit, he just presented himself as a good guy. I mean, I even said the whole him and Chelsea thing seemed like kind of inappropriate, and yeah, especially like the way he's I mean, to be fair, he got mixed up with her just to kind of use her as a means of going after Murphy. So that's how that all started. Like, she's just a means to an end to him. Now I'm like, Chelsea, you need to get the hell away from him. That's a nasty situation. And you're like, the fact is, obviously he doesn't care about you. The moment he had an opportunity, what did he do? He tried to, well, I guess you can make the arguments like, well, what happened with Max and Leslie? But this is a different thing entirely. But I think maybe you could still make the parallel. But I'm like, I just feel like he's using Chelsea, and maybe Josh will go off and finally let this all go and be free of Murphy. I don't know. Like, that was just, I was like, regardless of what your story is next, Josh, I was like, that's super, and I'm curious to see, like, what that means between him and Chelsea. I think maybe he took Chelsea's advice of, like, I know what you did, and that's all I need. Even if you won't admit it, I know it. I'm not going to help you, bitch. You know, so they don't have Josh's help, not unless she has to admit to something she didn't do, and she'll probably be like, yo, Josh did this and that, which Max super won't appreciate. But I don't know if they'll necessarily believe her, like, or maybe she won't say anything to anybody next episode. I have no idea how that's going to play out. Because Murphy might not want to tell the truth. How uncomfortable that was. I was like, I legitimately, it kind of made my skin crawl. I'm like, that made me super uncomfortable, bro. I was like, ugh. So we'll see where things kind of go on that front. Like I said, I think it just speaks volumes. If he's like that with Murphy, you're almost like, despite the circumstances being different, he could be like that with Chelsea. I don't know. Like, I'm just not bailing him out on this. Like, to be fair, I haven't been Team Josh this entire season. I've been sympathetic to some extent. I'm like, you're running low on sympathy for me because I'm like, once again, because I'm Team Murphy, I'm like, fuck Josh in his attempt to bring her down. But now I'm also like, more like, yo, hashtag fuck Josh. He kind of sucks right now. So, once again, maybe that's just because I haven't been Team Josh, but I'm like, I just felt like that was severely crossing a line, and who's to say the same thing won't be applicable when it comes to Chelsea as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all this goes. Once again, they don't have his help, but at the very least, they could potentially get Felix's help if they bring him into the fold. I don't know if he can necessarily do what Josh does, but, he can't fill that void because Josh is the one who could trace the money. But, like I said, Felix might be their inside guy just because of his connection to the family, but also, he kind of took some of that money for her bail, so they might end up kind of figuring that out, because eventually everything is going to connect back to that. At the very least, Max will probably find out, wait, what? Wait, the money trails back to this particular person? And it's okay. And then, they could use the Felix Leslie thing to maybe kind of play that. Once, I feel like, because they're gone right now, so maybe we're going to fold whatever they're up to back into the story in this regard, or they're going to connect back in that regard. Either way, which then it's going to be interesting when they find out about Max and her being engaged, because they still kept that to themselves. So how Leslie's going to feel about that, how Felix is going to feel about that. Once again, it's all going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, especially knowing, we know to some extent how this is all going to end, with implying, Max is going to be the one that dies, but we'll see. Maybe it's a fake out, just like the whole Jess thing was a fake out last season, so. But, really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.